And we're back. What's up? I'm Mateo. How are you guys doing? Just got back from California, which is awesome, by the way. California gets so much crap, and a lot of it for good reason. From a business perspective, from a tax perspective, not the greatest place in the world, but it is absolutely gorgeous. So I'm still in the vibe. And if I spit a little bit during this, the only zins that they had over in California were the normal ones and then the other ones that don't taste very good. For whatever reason, California being California, they don't have the good ones. And I walked into a gas station and I went to go buy like a pack of 6 milligram peppermint Zins. It was $17. I'm not joking. There's like special taxes on this stuff for whatever reason. So even though it's like a paradise in every way, it's just not when it comes to being a devoted Zinner, which I am. And also got the coffee going. And shouts out to the other panoply of stimulants to get me through today because I had a little bit of a delayed flight coming back, so a little bit on the needing stimulant side. But today I want to talk to you about letter writing and why I think it's going to make a comeback and why I'm like super excited about it in a very bizarre fashion, I know. But I seriously think it is a huge tragedy that nobody writes letters anymore. And it's providence that I do this. And what I just said is actually not very true. People still write letters. It's an antiquated form of art, in my opinion. We'll talk more about why. But I got a letter today as I came home and checked the mail, and it was from my niece. It's a thank you card. And more accurately, it's probably from my sister in law because my niece is 3. And I don't think she knows the written word yet, but she wrote me a little card, and it was, in one of those letters that's got your name and address on there. And when you receive a letter, it's such a nice feeling. Like, it's like, somebody put time out of their day to, like, think of you and to, like, write thoughts for you and then put a stamp on it, throw it in the mail. It's like, it makes you feel good. It's like a little Christmas present. And in my opinion, uh, with the advent of texting and telecommunications and the things that we have today, even the cooler technologies like Signal and PGP and things that keep your communications encrypted, assuming there's no backdoor or future way to break the encryption or whatever, um, like it's taken from us something that I don't think we have quite totally acknowledged. And I think letter writing is going to make a beautiful comeback. And I'm doing it in my own life. I have committed to writing a couple of my friends. I got in touch with them and I said, hey, dude, we're going to be doing letter writing. And I hope you're in because you're going to be receiving a letter from me. And I had one friend. I was like, hey, do you want to be pen pals? And he's my buddy in the Navy. So it actually kind of makes sense because he's just going to be out there. Maybe he's going to be on a ship or something. And yeah, I could call him and we probably will have chit chats every now and then. But he was like, well, number one, why? It's a bizarre request. And two, yeah, let's do it. I love my friends. But um, like, there's an art to this. There's a beauty to letter writing, which has been lost. And text messages just don't quite do it. They really don't quite do it. And I don't know about you guys, but most of the time when I text, uh, I'm sharing funny memes. I'm like doing quick checkups on how people are doing. I'm getting in totally trivial conversations, which honestly kind of interrupt my day. And it's not like I hate getting text messages from people. And it's not like I don't like staying in touch with people, but it's like there's not a lot of depth there to the text message. And it's not something that you can hold, it's not something that you can save, it's not like really a piece of history. And I've done thousands upon thousands of text messages over the years, and it's not like there is a single text message out there that is like, oh, I'm going to like print this out and like store it somewhere so I could read it in the future because it's just so nice and something to cherish. It's like that's not the case with text messages. Text messages at first I think were supposed to be like ways to like organize direct action. Like, hey, what are you doing right now? Hey, do you want to do this? I'm meeting here at 7 o'clock. Where are you? Like things like that that are like, you know, solid, actionable pieces of information. Like that's what the text message was for. Or just for saying hi and like quick things like that. But it's taken over our lives as like the primary form of communication. And me personally, I still like calling people. I'm old fashioned like that. You get a girl's number, you want to call her. You don't want to do all this text stuff. And unfortunately, that's like the way it's done nowadays with a lot of the dating. Like you have to do a trial by fire with boring ass text conversations. Uh, and you can make them interesting. I'm not saying that you can't. You got to get kind of creative with, what they call the text game. But, it's honestly just kind of like, it just doesn't really hit. And when I read this letter today from my niece, it made me think back to when I received letters when I was a kid from like my uncles and my aunts, grandparents, and I still have some of those letters. And they would be things that I didn't quite understand at the time. And honestly, I couldn't read them because the older generation, they have a nice calligraphy and they write in cursive, and I never quite got cursive. They taught it when I was in third grade. And so, no, I know like my L's and my T's and my I's and stuff. Those are pretty straightforward, but you get to like the F's and like the S's, and it's just like I forget about it. And it can be hard to read that stuff, but nevertheless, like I was happy to get it, and my parents would read it for me, and like I'd feel good about it. And it's like a time capsule for a particular time when somebody's thinking of you and they're telling you what they're up to and like what they've been doing. They tell you about their kids, what's going on in their lives, the changing of the seasons. And it's like a miniature literary work or journal that they are like sharing with you almost. And do you guys get letters anymore? Do you guys write letters anymore? It's sort of a lost art. And one of the reasons why I started thinking about this was because I saw a story that came out, and let me see if I could look up the story real quick. I think it had to do with like AT&T. There's some kind of hack, and I think the records of like 400 and something million people were leaked. And you know, I'm not a big fan of that, and we're privacy bros over here. So we like our communications being held sacred and staying private. And I don't think I'm going to find it. I'm not going to worry about it. But nevertheless, that was the impetus for this. Like some cyber criminals hacked AT&T and T, and they scooped up phone calls, text messages, and stuff from millions of people. And who knows what they're going to do with that? I don't really care. I mean, if they release my text messages that I have with my bros, I'm cooked. Because we make very inappropriate jokes at times. And, you know, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of all that. And what could be more private and personable than a handwritten letter? And I was thinking, as I started thinking more about this, because yeah, you have Signal. Who knows if there's a backdoor to that? PGP, like I said before, what if they crack the encryption? And all that stuff is on the net. And it's sort of like blockchain. It's like it could be there forever. And I know Signal, you could set up some parameters where like it deletes the message after a certain period of time, like a few hours, maybe a day or a week, and it gets deleted. Now, I don't know if it gets deleted. I don't know what they do with that. I don't know if that gets like black box somewhere in some secret server. to be dug up later by law enforcement. I have no idea. But with the letter, you can be anonymous and you can just kind of send that stuff to people and have it remain so. Now, if you're talking with family or friends, uh, you know, and sorry if this is moving, I'm adjusting, but um, if you're talking with family and friends, use your name. It doesn't matter. Um, no big deal. You can trust them. Maybe they leave it around and somebody reads it. Who cares at the end of the day? But with random people, you can use a pseudonym. It's not a big deal. And there are ways to kind of make it so that you can secure the privacy and integrity of the message. You could use like wax stamps, which are pretty cool. Like you get some wax, you like drip it onto the back of the envelope, and you stamp it with your seal, which is pretty badass. By the way, you could develop your own little seal. It's like your own little signature. Kings and queens used to have it, and if somebody messed with the seal, then the seal would be broken. They have certain types of wax that make it so that if the seal is broken, it's very hard to put it back together. It's not like beeswax where like they can kind of like reheat it and restamp it with some counterfeit thing. It's like once it's broken, it's broken. And who knows if there are ways to get around it. The CIA probably knows, but like it's a private form of communication. And that's what first got me, but then I started to think more about it and I started to think about history. And we would have no idea about people's daily lives, people's daily lives, people's experience during certain historical time periods. The letters of soldiers writing back home about their experience of the war, those are always very interesting to read. Love letters from long ago. You run to those in your family, I mean, you got gold right there. That's so cool. And in my family, we have uh, we have letters and correspondence from my great grandparents and great uncles with the government because I had family of mine that served in the military in World War II, and one particular person, our great uncle Charlie, was on a submarine and he was fighting the Japanese in the Pacific, and one day the submarine just disappeared. Last time it was seen was in the Tokyo harbor, and submarine disappears in Tokyo harbor. Probably not doing too hot, unfortunately. Either they got caught by a Japanese submarine or like depth charged or something happened. We don't know. We don't know, but there is a trove of letters in my family which is being passed down where like there are heartfelt correspondences with people like the Secretary of State and people high up in the military saying, "Hey, like please find our Uncle Charlie. He means a lot to us. And like, this is the last we heard of him." And then they write back and they tell us their intel, like super cool stuff. And that stuff, man, it's so invaluable. It's so invaluable. And the letter, it captures not only history at the time, but it captures people's thoughts, people's emotions, people's soul. And in that way, it's kind of like an art form. It's like a work of art. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the painting Starry Night by Van Gogh. Uh, it's basically a picture of a starry night on one particular evening in the 1500s. I don't know when Van Gogh lived. I think it's like the 1800s or something, actually. But, it's him viewing the sky, but it's not like a realistic picture of the sky. I mean, yeah, the stars were there in that particular arrangement, and you've actually had astronomers and historians look at it and dial it back to where he was on that particular night, and there's a reality to it, but the way it's painted is kind of an expression of how the artist saw through his lens of past traumas, future dreams, and his state in that present moment. And there's something beautiful about that. And the letter can do the same thing. And when you write a letter to somebody, it's like you're putting your soul onto paper and you're giving them like a little part of that. Like it's not just private communication. It's like you're giving somebody your attention, you're giving somebody your thoughts that are deeper than a text message, and you're giving them like a time capsule of like a particular moment, and they're sharing that with you, right? And you just do not get that with text messages. You just do not get that with text messages, man. And so we're making a comeback. I think we're going to start writing letters, and it's just nice to write in the first place. Like I recommend people have a journal. I recommend people, uh, you know, just write your thoughts down because throughout the day you could have like a lot of stuff going on. You know, people slight you. Uh, you know, you have some idea which you think is a good idea, which just kind of passes like dust in the wind if you don't actually get it down. And writing it like concretizes the reality of the mind. And so I recommend people do it. But if you do that with other people, there's something like that much more beautiful about it. And I feel like with technology, like without our consent, really, but with our consent ultimately, as with most forms of magic, it's like we've surrendered like a piece of our soul in moving all of our communications to telecommunications. And like we aren't even conscious of this, but you know, in the same way that we're going to be going from a fiat standard back to like a gold standard and we're going to go back to real money. I think there's going to be a movement back to like real communication in the form of letter writing. I think that kind of thing is going to happen at some point. And another comment I have about this is I think people are so weird socially nowadays, and people struggle a lot with social type of things because there is a loss of etiquette. And a lot of etiquette, I think, comes from being able to analyze and understand the written word. And the way that people used to be socially like 100, 200 years ago was by following a form of etiquette that could be based from the written word, like how you construct your sentences, how the flow of a conversation is supposed to go between letter correspondences. You ask questions, you answer questions, you follow up on questions. And the younger generation now, it's like you get into a conversation with them, it's just like it just the flow isn't there. And there's a lack of etiquette. And I think that's because there's such a lack of understanding of proper writing and the written word, and people don't read anymore. It's just like language is more than just the words we use, it's how we use them and the context and construct of how it's used. And even the most autistic person, I saw a tweet like this recently, like even the most autistic person 100, 200 years ago could engage in social discussions because at least they would have understood the etiquette. And now there's no etiquette. Like you have to vibe every social situation out because everybody's just on their own weird level, making up their own words, and you know everyone's got their slang, and like it's just a different world out there. And I think reading literature and writing could definitely help people with that. And so there's a lot more to say about letter writing. It's a whole other world. I've been like deep diving into it. I've been like reading about it. Oh, another thing, one more thing is you can like draw in your letters. You can do doodles. Now, I'm not an artist. I can't really draw that well. I didn't get that gene. I more or less got the music gene, but some people are really good at art. And you can like create pictures to your words in the letter. There's a lot of old-fashioned letters that are like that that you can read from like the Victorian era. Like they beautify the paper with their art. And that used to be normal with books too. Like you look at old books like before the Gutenberg press, when people wrote books, like they drew beautiful images that corresponded with what was being written about. And it was like a whole experience to read these books and to read these things. And the same thing occurred in letters too. And so, like with a letter, like somebody just lets you into their world. And again, you just don't get that with text messages nowadays, especially with AI coming on board. And there's like a South Park episode on this when Stan, he's like not even texting his girlfriend. He's just having ChatGPT respond to all of her text messages. And she thinks that she's responding to Stan, and Stan through ChatGPT is like being this really sly guy and is responding to all the messages. He's being responsive. And, she is being deceived by thinking she's talking with Stan, but she's not talking with Stan. She's chatting with the GPT lords, the demons that comprise this magical technology that we have nowadays. And I feel like a little bit of my soul lost when I'm responding to somebody. And like my iPhone is like automatically populating what it wants me to say. Like, how freaking crazy is that if you really think about it? It's like I'm not actually talking to this person. It's like I am automating my responses like a robot to this person through some algorithm that is within this device I'm using. Like it's totally dehumanizing. And just the thought that people could be doing that to me doesn't make me very happy. And I don't think it makes anybody really happy at the end of the day. And yeah, you could share like cool memes and stuff, but like, did you make those memes? And like, you could share like cool pictures with people, but like, did you draw those pictures? There's like something just missing from today's communication. I think we could bring it back with letters, brothers. I think we could bring it back. So we're bringing it back. We're bringing back letter writing, and I think it'll be a cool thing. And if you want me to write you, I don't have a PO box set up yet, but I'm thinking about setting up a PO box because I've talked with a couple of you guys about becoming like pen pals, and we don't have to share our real names or anything like that. Even though you guys know my name because I tie my business with this profile, but if you want me to write you, hit me up. We'll become pen pal bros. And I'm writing my friends, my family. It's going to be fun. I'm getting like the quill, the wax, the ink where you dip your quill in and everything. I'm going all out with this. It's going to be awesome. But think about it, brothers. Letter writing. It's going to be cool. It's going to make a comeback. That's all I got to say. So let me know your thoughts below about letter writing and have fun with it. Get on the adventure. And that's all I got for now. My name is Mateo. My name is Mateo. That's all I got to say. Talk to you guys soon. See you.